Why do we separate max effort from speed work or dynamic effort in the conjugate system? Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Thought I would sit down and chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. But if you guys would, please click like down below on my video, subscribe or follow me, and please comment down below. I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much if you would do that. And even comment questions, let me know what you think about the video. So on this topic, I get asked this a lot of times. People will say, why, when you're doing this sort of system, don't you just do the dynamic work, the speed work after the max work? Why don't we do it in the same day? And a lot of it has to do with the flow and recovery of the system, because here's the thing. We need a primary training modality each day, right? We're hopefully not coming in just pumping out a bunch of bodybuilding work that's done at the end on this system, because we do need to gain as much muscle as possible, particularly in whatever your weakest links are. Those need to be hammered really, really, really hard with a lot of volume, even really high rep stuff, 20 plus reps sometimes. But as far as the max work goes, a couple things to think about here. When it comes to overuse, and I'm saying this as someone with experience with it, I've coached guys who wanted to do a higher frequency of max effort. I've done a system with it where I pretty much just ran conjugate max effort every day. One max and then a bunch of 10 plus rep sets. And I got pretty strong pretty quick, and it worked pretty dang well until I burned out. And then it really, really burned out. I burned out. I crashed and burned really bad for a couple months. My strength just deteriorated, everything. I had all sorts of cramping, and there's problems with the recovery side. But here's what I found. When you go over to just 2 maxes a week, right, and you follow like Prelipin's chart, and you only do up to 3 reps, maybe 4 at the absolute all-out limit for your upper and for your lower above 90%. So any weight that's above 90% of your max, you do about maybe 3 reps a week for your upper body, 3 reps a week for your lower body. So that could mean a deadlift for the lower. It could mean a floor press for the upper. You guys get the idea. All right. The thing is, that is enough to maximize all of our neural drive. That is enough to maximize strength, particularly if you do it every week. You'll get really good at maxing if you do that every single week. You'll get good at maxing on random lifts all the time. That's the point. You will get good at maxing out, because you're doing it every week. And people say, but even with changing lifts, I'm like, yes, even with changing lifts, even with rotating bands, chains, boxes, different bars. Oh yeah, that is enough. That's enough to get you that coordination that you need. The problem is it does beat you up, but if you stay there, it doesn't beat you up. In other words, you can handle 3 heavy reps of a bench press or a floor press or an incline every week, right? You can handle 3 heavy reps. Notice I didn't say sets, I said reps. That's the idea. Above 90%. Meaning heavy is anything 90% or higher. Real straightforward. Okay. Same thing with your lower. Pick a squat variation, a deadlift variation, a good morning variation. Don't go over about 3 heavy reps. 90%. So anything above 90%, that's where you stop for the whole week. And hopefully only one of them is truly heavy, because you're ramping. All right. If you do that, you don't get so beat up. Here's the other thing. You have a full week to recover. Since you do 1 upper and 1 lower, you have a full week before those joints, those tendons, all that get beat again with that. A full week to recover. Therefore, the speed work is fine. So it doesn't matter if that stuff is still beat up when you get to the speed work, and that's why it matters. Because we do the speed work on a separate day as a primary modality. Okay? The speed work doesn't interfere with our recovery from our maxing, and our maxing doesn't interfere with our recovery from the speed work. So what this allows you to do is have 72 hours between them. So your body has 72 hours to adapt to max work. So let's say just for the bench pressing. Okay, let's say for the bench pressing. So let's say Monday you do max effort bench, you do your heavy singles, and then Thursday is your speed bench, right? Not only have you adapted, you've made your systemic adaptations within a couple of days. You've made most of your growth. Your adaptation has already happened. Your joints might not be fully recovered, but it doesn't matter because the speed work is light. It's light. You're fine. You're going to recover from it. It's not going to be impacted in any way. All right, the speed work might train your nervous system, train some muscles and other stuff, but we recover from speed work really, really fast. So then let's say you come on Thursday and you do, 30-40% of your 1 rep max and bar weight against a bunch of heavy bands, right? Maybe 20 to 30% of your max end and band tension, you do 9 or 10 triples, like real fast 9 or 10 triples with that. Explosively. Okay, that's not any real tension on your joints. It'll hit your tendons a little bit, you get some tendon response, you get a lot of muscle response, you get a nervous system response. It's going to train your peripheral nervous system massively to explode, recruit all those upper threshold muscle fibers immediately. Okay, so that's going to be a larger nervous system recovery component, whereas in the maxing is going to hit your structures. CNS fatigue from lifting heavy is not real. That is nonsense. It's been completely debunked. You're going to get some fatigue, though, peripheral nervous system fatigue and stuff, definitely from the speed work. But that won't necessarily affect your maxes in another 3 to 4 days. Because again, they're going to be 4 days apart. Not a big deal. Okay? Not a big deal. But it's not going to hit your joints. So then your joints are feeling perfectly fine again by the time you max out. And so the idea, we have a primary modality through the week. So you have the max effort day to get your truly heavy neural drive in, get used to the heavy loads, the structural adaptation, learning to grind under a heavy weight, learning how to lock out a heavy weight. The other gives you practice. It's power, high rate of force production repeatedly. It's going to hammer your nervous system harder. It's going to hammer you cardiovascular harder. You're going to gain more muscle from it, but it will give your joints and other stuff a complete break, and it will carry over. Your maxes will go up, particularly your ability to follow through when you go to grind and it gets slow. You hit that point where it's going to turn into a grind. That speed work will absolutely carry over. Okay. So what we get is it still improves your maxes, but it also improves your overall speed, will make you faster at other stuff. Right? And then afterwards on both, we do a bunch of hypertrophy work. Sometimes you'll do some heavy assistance work on max effort day, depending on what you're doing, or you may just go straight into all your assistance and accessory work and just get big. So let's say on that day, you might do incline bench, you might do some dumbbell presses, or you might do some floor presses. You might do both of them. You're probably going to do some upper back work. You're probably going to do some tricep work, some shoulder work of some type. So you might, sorry guys, got something there. Clean it off my shirt. I'm just going to leave that in. So on that day, you might come in and do some heavy floor press after the max, and then some dumbbells. Then you might do a bunch of tricep extensions and band press downs and some rows and stuff, or pull-ups for your back. And then maybe an exercise for your delts or whatever, and call it a day, right? You get that done, and then you have the 72 hours, and you do that speed bench, and then you do even more pump work. You're probably going to do even higher reps a lot of times. You don't have to. That might be where you go, man, I'm going to do a bunch of high rep incline, a bunch of high rep incline dumbbells, maybe some overhead pressing, do a ton of really high rep tricep work, just fatigue, metabolic fatigue, build muscle, but nothing heavy. That's what I tell guys too. Stay away from the heavy stuff. All the rep work, stay lower. Now they're separated, and then your muscles will grow from that, but then you've got a few days. Then you should be recovered from that again. Now you're ready and fresh to lift heavy. So we separate them to get that overlap of training, to train those different parts of the body with a different recovery curve. Because your max work and your speed work are different enough systems, they won't interfere with each other's recovery. So then we get 2 exposures, right? We get 2 exposures to a bench in the week. And then we get all that hypertrophy work to put muscle on us, and all the muscles involved as well. So this is why we separate them into different days. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.